Hello, everybody, and welcome back to more Higger. Oh my god, these stupid glass. My glasses broke last week. I'm sorry. They're really uncomfortable, and I play with them a lot. Welcome back to more Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3, Tartari Goroshi. Tartari? Is tar? Tatari. Tatari. There's only one R. Only one R. Tatari Goroshi. Um, yesterday, things went real bad. Things went real bad. Honestly, that's all I'm gonna say about it. This is all recorded. You can literally go watch the other videos. I I don't know my left and rights because I'm mirrored. I'm on a different side of the screen. Whatever. Just go wherever. Find the last couple parts. Honestly, just watch the whole chapter. But specifically, if you are not up to date, go watch last chapter. Shit's gotten real and we're angry. So yeah, that is all the intro you get. You don't get to know exactly what happened. You can go back and watch it if you really want to know. But on that note, we're just going to jump right in. So let's just get going. Let's get this show on the road because shit is about to heat up. Okay. Put the water bottle there so it's easy to reach. All right. And we're off. Mion and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. We Angie. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world. I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. I've read a lot of articles on trials with people brought up on false charges. At court, they consider whether the charges are false or not, but figuring out the real criminal is entirely out of scope. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. You just had to look at the inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult-to-solve incidents, involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes, perfect crimes were skills of the gods. And in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling the curse of Oyashiro-sama, I understood they must have been the works of gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods. Those are perfect crimes. And I would be setting up my own crime before Oyashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice, to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame, but as systematic as ice. Starting now, I need to retain both of those ideas within me. Modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes, kidnappings involving disturbing, original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as a basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night, for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. What do I think the most well-done perfect crime in all the mystery novels I've read is? Yeah. Well, you read quite a lot of them, right? I figured you might know a lot about them. It's more fun to read them to find out. If I told you all the tricks right off the bat, they'd be no fun anymore. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting a question, so I would somehow butter her up first and draw out an answer. Of course, well done mystery novels. Yeah. They all have a unique charm to them, so it's hard to say which is the most interesting. You'd really have to force me to pick one. I didn't want to know which novels you liked. I wanted to know about the trick that made you the most surprised. If it was really a perfect trick, the detectives wouldn't be able to solve the case, though. That was true. Then there'd be no point. Mystery novels are enjoyable because of the process of the mysteries getting solved. If it was unsolvable, it wouldn't make a very good topic for a novel. I get it. Yeah, you're right. If the main character can't solve it, it wouldn't be much of a story, huh? Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. They were written so that you can get to the goal, so that you could solve them. Higurashi is just a mystery novel. It's just a mystery novel that they think of as a game for you to try and solve. Okay. No, that's fine. It all came together. It all came together. That's why it's a game. Ah! They were written so that you can get to the goal, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives. By the way, Keiichi, do you understand that truly perfect crimes don't even become stories? Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I'd never gotten to read it, but apparently, one time, a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently, she was really into it. Don't even become stories. What does that mean? Keiichi, what are the most essential parts of a story? A beginning, a middle, and an end? Correct. The beginning, of course, is especially important. If there is no beginning, then the story never starts. Well, yeah. If nothing happened, nothing would begin. Right. Nothing happened, so there wouldn't even be an incident. Detectives wouldn't be called, so there wouldn't be any mystery. There would be no mystery, so there would be no solution. In other words, it would be the ultimate perfect crime. Wait a second. Could you explain that again? My mom just told me something absurd. And she was saying it so smoothly, too, so I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important just now. It's not really that difficult to understand. The incident just has to never come to light. That's all. Just has to never come to light. For example, how about this? Say there's an old man living deep in a forest nobody goes into. Uh-huh. And one day, the old man gets killed by an axe. And, let's say the criminal was the old man's son. He went to the old man's house and they were drinking together, but they got into a fight and he killed him. What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect crime. But Keiichi, the house was really, really deep in this forest. So deep in the mountains that nobody would ever go out that far. Then his son would go back to town and say that the old man was doing fine. What about that as a perfect crime? Keiichi, this incident would only begin when it was found out that the old man was killed. If nobody ever visited the old man's house after that, that beginning would never occur. The beginning would never occur. So basically, the story wouldn't start. The incident wouldn't come to light and they wouldn't call in detectives. And nobody would be suspicious in the first place, so there'd be no mystery. They'd think the old man was still living by himself deep in the forest, and the old man's face would appear in the sky, and that would be it. Something like that, you know? That's amazing. That's a pretty great trick. But it wouldn't be a novel. Mystery novels are for entertainment, after all. They can't be instruction manuals for perfect crimes. I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash. None of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, it would basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of Watanagashi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he had been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Where I'd kill him, how I'd do it, what time, and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I'd been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time. But if I could just get these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of the Watanagashi, so as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more. But please, hold out for a little longer. I know you can't last another second. I know that. But please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside, it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point, it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. The sky was the color of lead. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I'd definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. Gonna turn the song up a little bit, because it's interesting. My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I needed to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received, being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable, but this was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. You just needed to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. So the blades available to me, even the longest ones, were still limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, a weapon with more reach, like a staff, would be far more advantageous. It might not be quite as inherently lethal, but since you could just keep hitting the guy until you killed him, the end result was the same. So, what's a staff-like deadly weapon, terrifyingly powerful, and also eminently portable? By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Of special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. I will speak about it later. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful even about that. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course, there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went in the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of a strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe while no one was around, the desks creep about of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. If I suddenly stepped into a place like that, would the desks, in their surprise, fly at me, crush my bones, and eat me alive? That's ridiculous. I felt regret at wasting valuable time thinking. Let's start over. I felt regret at wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker. One I had accidentally discovered one day. Here it is. Hojo. This has to be it. If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have two? I'd made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't been interested, so until now, I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, I remembered the thing that had been there. Scrape. I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. This is a horror visual novel, Random Guy Pie. Welcome. That's fair. It's not great streaming material, but I have so much fun reading it, so it's what I stream for most of the week. Yes. Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hanamizawa fighter's uniform, and it. The one Satoshi used. The metal bat. Yes. This was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me, but this wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily manage the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. Yeah, so our best friend is being abused by her uncle, and it basically broke her. She is mentally broken. She's a shell of the human that she used to be. That made MC, Keiichi Maebara, fucking snap. He's just as broken as she is. He is no longer the Keiichi Maebara who we've been playing for the past 3 chapters. So now, we are about to just go and fucking murder her uncle. But that happens tomorrow. That'll probably be next chapter. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now, I just needed to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. Best friend's older brother, yeah. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Yeah, BF's the brother probably dead. He ran away last year. Ran away. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. We'd been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it, in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none, because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off, and, from what my classmates had said, the thing had been left here for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years, you can't just suddenly start them up again. So I was almost definitively fine in this case. The sunlight was piercingly hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dulled thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple hits in the head, then looked around warily. Oh yeah, no, he is nutso. He's gone. Okay. Next, how to dispose of the corpse. Ooh-wee. We're setting up the plan. Disposing of the corpse. The ultimate way not to create a beginning was to not let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful, bottomless swamp revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi Village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi Village. Yeah, no, he's planning real good despite being nutso. Absolutely batshit. He is broken. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi Village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of the demons below the earth. You may be insane, but you're also a nerd. That was how the stories went. If I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, then I felt that theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapon into the swamp. But they may have said it's bottomless, but I didn't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Rika-chan's mother drowned herself in this swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse, too. It was rumored he'd tried to discard the body into the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. There's a big history about Oyashiro-sama's curse. It's been going on for 5 years, every year on a specific night, tomorrow in-game. Someone dies, and someone disappears. So, we are trying to take advantage of Oyashiro-sama's curse to kill a man, and then hide his body so that people just assume that he was a victim of the curse, and not killed by Keiichi Maebara. Close. That was a mistake. I never heard of the corpse coming back up or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse there too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it would be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But, as for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they'd actually happened. There were no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and then not coming back up. then what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him to pieces and hide him. But the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Oyashiro-sama's corporeal form comes out of the murk. Oh god! Stop. Why were you scrolling? I'm upset. I was scrolling on the mouse while trying to read. What were you saying? Oyashiro-sama's corporeal form comes out of the murk, goes to police, provides witness statements because they can't imagine the audacity of the bitch who dared use their curse for mortal things and sullied their swamp with an ugly dude's corpse. That might be what happens. I don't know. That might be how he gets caught. Okay, we gotta read from here now. Method of burying the body. Then where I would bury it was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time in proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I'd want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand, and to make the location of the act and the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, and a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would head to from Satoko's house. I imagined a map of the area in my head, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. I didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Yagouchi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he'd pass through these woods first. Use a bazooka to get rid of the corpse? That leaves a lot of gore. That leaves a lot of gore lying around. And nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Satoko's house or one or two other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went into the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Satoko's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. The question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival, or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Satoko go to the festival? Satoko would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. This is the Okinomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? It didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police or the hospital, told him to come, and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on. Wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satoko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion? If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satoko would go to the festival, leaving the house. It would be convenient if I could make Mion take Satoko to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Satoko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact and get her there. Satoko should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on our former peaceful days, and when she went home, everything would be over. I don't know. He might. He's putting a lot of thought into this. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body. So it wouldn't stand out. So it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me while I was completely exposed as I buried the corpse. I had wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew farther away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place. Digging a hole. Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I'd envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out here in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. I wondered how big a hole would have to be to fit a human all the way into it. I'd probably have to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. Nobody knows about this. That's the whole point. Nobody knows. There cannot be a beginning to this crime, so nobody can have any idea that this is starting. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. This was probably all I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out, but Mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I needed to go back home and give Mion a call soon. I needed to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Dig a 6 feet hole, bury the guy, fill it 3 feet, then cover it with a dead dog and fill the last 3 feet. It's not a bad idea. True. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. And I didn't decide on a time, but I would play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Would this really go how I planned? After all this, worries started welling up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack, so it was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From the outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, My knees were shaking loudly. I've never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face, and he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned. But was the actual murder the most important part, what unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all of my perfectly concealed machinations, if I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it! After coming this far, you're pathetic, Keiichi Maibara. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. Oh, he's been a schizo the whole time. He always talks to himself like that. A day of murder. To kill someone. For someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we could take it back again. Those mild, spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedaled my bicycle hard to get back home. I felt somehow unsteady, like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. He was an old problem, and then he ran away because he thought he was gonna get ousted by Oyashiro-sama's curse. And then last week, he randomly showed up. Just came back to town and took Satoko and started abusing her. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Maibara. If that will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution, then it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. Keiichi is definitely a dude, by the way. It was the first time I'd be calling Neon's house. I searched for her in the phone book the school gave me, then dialed a short phone number, the kind unique to remote places. It was around dinner time. She would probably be home. But just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver. What was he talking on about? Childbirth? You know, still being a dad. Becoming a dad is a monumental moment in a person's life. Whether he did the birthing or not, it's still a big moment. Hello, this is Sonozaki. Oh, I'm sorry for calling so late at night. Is this Mion? Huh? May I ask who's calling? It's me, Keiichi. Ah, oh, Ki-chan. It's pretty late. What's up? She seemed to be in a weirdly good mood, and she drew her syllables out. Right. It's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with her family having some drinks. Sorry for the late call. Do you have time right now? Sure, what is it? Mion is one of our other best friends. We have 3 best friends. Rina Ryugu, Mion Sonozaki... 4 best friends, pardon me, 4. Rina Ryugu, Mion Sonozaki, Rika Furude, and Satoko Hojo. And Child is drunk because Japan. That's small town Japan. That's pretty well how it goes. Sure, what is it? It's about Satoko. I heard her draw in a small breath on the other end. Satoko. She's in a pretty bad spot. I hope she's okay. The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her voice. She can't be okay. You saw too, didn't you? What she was like? She was completely worn out from all the abuse. We failed her all this time, and now she's become like that. We didn't fail her. Everyone tried their hardest to help her. But we didn't come up with anything. And we couldn't save her. In the end, we couldn't do anything about it, and now she's become like that. I guess you're right. All I did was watch after all. So, well, at least... couldn't we at least let her have fun for one night? Huh? Let her have fun? She's been so battered lately, you understand. That's why I want you to take her to the Watanagashi festival tomorrow. I don't mind, but why? Why? I want to give her a breather, at least for the festival night. You know? I mean, yeah. Yeah, it took like a week. Broke her spirit in a week. After, like, a year, 2 years of abuse. Even if it's just one night, if she can get away from her evil uncle, then I think she'll be happy. Even if it's only for a little while. Yes, but why? Why? Why what? I was having a little difficulty understanding what Mion was asking me. Why? Well, I mean, why don't you bring her, Ki-chan? Why do you need to ask me to do it? Mion was persistent about odd things. No. Maybe it'd be better to say that she was sharp. I actually have something to do tomorrow. I can't make it to the festival. So I wanted you to take Satoko there for me. Something to do? It's nothing major. I'll probably finish quickly, but I might not be able to meet up with you all tomorrow. Hey, Mion. Could I leave Satoko to you? Just for tomorrow night? Mion took a long time to give a reply. I got the feeling that Mion had been acting weird for a while now. Like she was flustered by emotions or something. No. Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? Are you crying? I said no. I don't want to. I don't want you to push this onto someone like me. I'm not trying to push anything onto you. It's just for tomorrow night. That was a lie. What? Mion, what was she talking about? Saying it's just for the night of Watanagashi, and then it was forever. Liar. But I guess we're even, huh? I couldn't keep the promise I made with you. I left her alone. Alone all this time. I had no idea what to say to that. Mion was clearly now talking to someone other than me. Oh, everyone is broken. Everyone. I didn't know who. All I could do was listen to her in a daze. You never came back after that. And now you called me again to push her onto me. You're so unfair. Hey, you're Satoshi-kun, aren't you? Mion, what are you talking about? When I said her name, whatever spell was on Mion was released. I'm sorry. It's nothing. It's just that I got a phone call a lot like the one you're making now. A long time ago. Was it from Satoshi? Mion didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver. Sorry. I think I'm still a little tipsy. I got all weirdly emotional. Sorry, I probably scared you. I had no idea how it happened. But I was pretty sure that last year, on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion and told her to bring Satoko to the festival. Japan loves their lunatics, and I also love Japan's lunatics. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way I just did. Satoshi didn't go to the festival, did he? Yeah, he said he had something to do and couldn't make it. And he told me to take Satoko there in his place. At the time, Satoshi said it too, didn't he? That he'd leave Satoko to you? Yeah, he did. Just for tomorrow night. The way you said it was just like how he did. I just got a little upset. Gotta been a memory and all. I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. After that, Mion had said more. That he was lying. That he told her it would only be the night of the festival. I get it. A few days later, Satoshi, he disappeared. Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. Did Satoshi try to kill the uncle and die? No. Satoshi... We don't know exactly what happens to Satoshi yet. I've watched the anime, so I have some spoilers for the series, so I have a vague idea of what's going on. But we're reading through it now, so I'm not going to spoil it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning Satoko. Yes, he didn't transfer or run away from home. He disappeared. And then, an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Oh yeah, there's a fantastic anime. They've got a new series coming out right now that is one of the greatest depictions of concentrated dread I've ever seen. I love it. I can't watch other things without thinking about it. It's incredible. I love this series. Satoshi made exactly the same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? If, in the truest sense, he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where their aunt was beaten to death, could it... Was Satoshi? Huh? What was that? Last year, Satoko had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt, too. Her aunt abused her the most, and on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about that, everything made perfect sense, didn't it? Last year, Satoko's aunt was beaten to death, wasn't she? Would it be impossible for Satoshi to have... No, but that would mean... But then, Satoshi... He was a coward who abandoned Satoko and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Satoko? It was unthinkable. I actually considered that as well. Though it'd be mean to Satoshi. A few days later, he disappeared. On Satoko's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But, now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely. Satoshi had probably been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister be abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. And that was why the corpse of their aunt, beaten to death, was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in his anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. He'd permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Oh my god, hiccups. Satoshi. He wished for a return to peaceful days with Satoko, and though he achieved it for a time, he had been steadily driven into a corner. And then, he wanted to at least hold out until Satoko's birthday. But finally, they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he'd amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He would buy the stuffed animal as her gift, and then get caught. Or he could use the money and disappeared. That was the choice he had been forced to make. And he decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. If that was the case, then it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved wanting to see Satoko happy, he had to use it to make her sad. And he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo, if the rumors were true. It is all coming together. That's why I love this series so much. You haven't even been here, and it's like, oh my god, mind blown. Was that how Satoshi disappeared? I don't know. That Uishi guy seems to think that way, though. Uishi. No! Had he been slowly driven into a corner by that repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit? The circumstantial evidence is all there, but I think your deduction is wrong. They caught some lowlife somewhere in the prefecture, and he apparently turned himself in for the crime. Uishi is a detective. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. It's hard to say. That's also a super interesting part about this series. That was right. The deviant had confessed, and the incident was solved. They said he really was just a crazy person, and that he had no ties to Hinamizawa, and no relationship with Satoshi, of course. I mean, I have a pretty hard time believing the guy would lie in Satoshi's place. You couldn't just arbitrarily decide like that. You never know where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it was really a perfect crime, there would have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish. Plus, I don't think Satoshi had the kind of money to run away. That day he withdrew all his savings. No matter who I tell this to, nobody believes me, but that stuffed animal he said he was buying for Satoko, it was gone from the display, sold. It must have been Satoshi. Wait a minute. If he didn't use the money to flee and bought the stuffed animal instead, he would have gone back to Satoko, wouldn't he? It seems unbelievable he'd buy it and then disappear without having given it to her. Yeah. So, now I don't know what happened. It would be one thing if he had the money, but if he used all his savings on it, he'd be totally broke. You can't live a life on the run without money in this world. I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I couldn't remember how we even got on this topic. Sorry. I think we got off topic. Satoko, right? Don't worry. I actually already invited her. Huh? You serious? When everyone went to the shrine to prepare for the festival, we started talking about getting Satoko to the festival itself. So then I used the phone at the assembly hall to invite her. Her uncle was acting distant and didn't seem to care at all, but in any case, we got the okay from him. We decided to all meet up and go together tomorrow. You okay with that? Satoshi? Stupid. I'm not Satoshi. I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Satoko had already been invited to the festival. And not in a way that smelled of blood. A way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same, but I was happy for that slight difference. Sorry, I guess I didn't need to call then. First yesterday, now today. Sorry for, saying such weird things. So, yesterday, we accused Mion of being a mass murderer mastermind who was solely responsible for the deaths of the past 4 years. So that's what we just casually apologized for. Just forget about it. No, I'm the one who should apologize. Losing it like that isn't like me. I'm really sorry. We apologized to each other for a little bit. Alright, I'll be going now. Good night. What did you have to do? As if interrupting our parting words, Mion struck straight where it hurt. Or is it like with Satoshi, where you can't say? Stupid. I keep telling you, I'm not Satoshi. Yeah, I know that. I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that. Alright, this time for real. Good night. I don't know why you're giving me the same phone call as Satoshi-kun did, but... yeah, never mind. I'm sorry. Good night. I'm hanging up. Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorned you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I didn't know what to think. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, their aunt's death, and Satoshi's disappearance. And now, me, trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi, the day before the curse. No, that wasn't all. If we start back from Satoko being abused, then I'd been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. Then as Satoshi had accomplished, I would succeed in the murder. But that was the extent to which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi, and more calculating. I could actually grow calmer, the more enthusiastic I became. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him cleanly out of the world, and then get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi had been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No. Maybe even longer than that. When I decided I'd be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been residing within me then, too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini even now? The kind worthy of Satoko's love. I'd never met him, never spoken to him, didn't even know his face, and yet I felt so connected to him. I'd never felt that way before. This shit is crazy. This whole fucking series is batshit. It's incredible. Note on the Housewife murder case. Oh, I'm possessed! For the attention of those on the Housewife slaughter incident case. July blank 1982. Okinomiya Police Station, 1st Investigative Division. Chief Takasugi. Prefecture Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime. Shishibone Branchhead, blank. Regarding incident blank, designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found. That is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question, Okinomiya Police Station X, Hinamizawa Village Housewife Slaughter Incident. During investigation of subject blank, who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs. There was testimony alluding to the crime in question, and it became clear that it contained information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we are prepared to share this record of testimony with you, duplicate attached. If this testimonial is to be believed, then there is an extremely high chance that suspect blank was the perpetrator in the incident in question. In addition, on receiving this testimony, the head investigator on the case inquired as to the incident with the Okinomiya Police Station. But the responsible party at Okinomiya Police Station misunderstood, and in compliance with the designation as an undercover investigation by executive order from Prefectural Police Headquarters on July 1st, 1982, General Admission, B1-12. They did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question, and as a result, was negligent when combing the scene. We apologize for having effectively ignored this until now. In addition, there is a postscript stating that suspect blank died while in confinement yesterday on XXX. Ooh, spoopy. Spooky. Okay, but if you are watching this on YouTube, that is going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and leave a like and a comment down below. I don't know, do you think Keiichi's gonna get away with the perfect crime? Let me know. Just leave a comment. Leave a comment saying anything you want, really. Just leave a comment. Comments help so much, and I love them. I'll read every single one. You'll also find down in the doobly-doo my followables. You'll find my Twitch. I stream every Monday through Friday from about 7:30 p.m. Pacific time to 10:30 p.m. Pacific time. There's an ebb and flow. It's not an exact science, but that's the general time frame. I'll probably be streaming this for the majority of it, to be honest, until I finish all 8 chapters. So if you're enjoying this and you want to watch it live, come on down. As you've probably told from this part, when people are around, I'm totally fine talking to them while reading. So it'll make it all a more interactive adventure. You'll also find my Twitter. I'm trying to use Twitter more, but I'm generally really bad at Twitter. Obviously, the more people who follow you on Twitter, the more fun Twitter is, and the more interaction you get while posting things, so the more incentivized you are to post things. But I think that's all of the shilling I have to do for this video, so I will be back tomorrow with a brand new video at noon, and until then, we'll catch you all next time. Ciao for now.